Today we are looking at another open ear design from SoundPEATS. This one I think is the base model to the PopClip Pro, and they are called the Pop Clips. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it, and that's how I mentally pictured it, because as we go you'll understand. If you want to see what the PopClip Pros look like and how they function versus these, you can check out the video on the channel later, but right now let's jump into the PopClip. So yeah, it's an open ear design. Basically, it doesn't stick inside your ear canal and block you out from the world. They're not in ear, they're outer ear design. And it comes in the box with a USB-C charging cable, some funny SoundPeats stickers, which have grown on me. I'm beginning to use them more than I'd like to admit. In terms of design, they are pretty similar to the PopClip Pros. The big difference being the back end is a bit more bulky to house the control mechanism because it is physical. But don't let that fool you. It is lighter than the PopClip Pros, coming in at about 4.73 grams, which makes them really comfortable, but we'll talk more about that later. These aren't marked with left or right because they use the same proprietary allocation technology, which means you can just pop them back in the case for like 10 seconds and whichever one's on the left becomes left and whichever one's on the right becomes right, which again makes it easy to use, but just don't swap them when they're outside the case because it needs to be in the case to reset. It has an IPX5 rating. So we'll survive workouts, light splashes of water, will not submerge, same old routine. The controls here, which I referred to at the beginning, the housing case supports a physical click button. Now for this particular brand from SoundPeats, I prefer the physical control because the touch mechanisms on the PopClip Pro was a bit of a learning curve for me and was a hit or miss. In fact, that was one of my major complaints. But here, at least you know what you're getting once you tap or double tap or triple tap, you know it's going to happen. Everything else you get on the app is still here. Adaptive EQ, calibrate it as you want, 10 band, make it sound sweeter. There's the game mode for cutting down lag. There's movie mode, which is really a 3D spatial sound kind of thing, which sucks for music, but it's much better for movies. And it still has Find My Location, so you can find it when you lose it. Bluetooth 5.4. For that ever so important multi-point connection, that's my thing. If it's not there, you're not playing in the big leagues yet. In terms of sound drivers, they are a bit smaller here at 10.8 millimeters in comparison to the PopClip Pros at 12 millimeters dual magnetic drivers. And you can tell because the bass feels less impactful in comparison to the other one. And there are some sharpness to the S's and T's, and the mid is not as clear, but it does deliver some decent audio, especially in quiet locations. But once you get out in the wild and that sound from the outside starts to bleed in, you will get muddy mids and can't interfere with your audio quality. But altogether, like I said, in a controlled environment, you will enjoy the sound. But you got to keep in mind, this is coming in at 39 USD, so manage your expectations. Like I said earlier, it is super comfortable to wear. These things are super light. They've gotten this form factor locked down, and you can almost forget that you have them on because there's no pressure in comparison to those over ear hooks that sit on the top of your ear and eventually you start to feel there's something weighing down. These ones are clipped around in a way that just feel like they're floating. In terms of battery life, the buds themselves have a bit more power versus the PopClip Pros at 8 hours on the buds, but the case has a bit less, which is 22 hours on the case. So you have a total of 20 hours versus the 24 you get on the Pro model. Again, keep in mind, I'm calling it the Pro model in my opinion, but these are the Pop Clips and they're their own thing. They also do have the fast charge, so you can charge for 50 minutes and get 3 hours of playback if you're in a hurry. I like the designs that SoundPeats is putting out, especially when it comes to the clips. They are super comfortable. If they can keep that going, that would be fantastic. The way it points the drivers right into your ear canal helps it deliver better quality, even though it's not fantastic in terms of your Apple AirPods or Sony levels, but you get good sound for what you're paying. I do personally prefer the sound signature for the PopClip Pro versus the PopClip, but I wish I could take the physical controls from the PopClip and put them on the PopClips, and then I would have an almost perfect pair of super cheap earbuds. Anyway, but that's my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.